Video-Elana Barkowitz works as a senior telephonic health coach for UPMC Health Plan, where she helps members across business lines make lifestyle health changes. She graduated from BCHS in 2011, and her practicum work involved developing and implementing programs at a shelter for survivors of intimate partner violence in McKeesport. Alana also received her Certified in Public Health and Certified Health Education Specialist certifications while working full-time for UPMC Health Plan. She also worked part-time for 4 years as a paraprofessional counselor at Planned Parenthood and currently works part-time as an interviewer for the Pittsburgh Girls Study. She grew up in Pittsburgh, and she is happy to be growing her career in Pittsburgh. So come on up. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much. If you would have asked me 12 years ago what I would be doing with my life, I would have said to you, all you need to do is look at my senior year high school yearbook, where it so confidently states that in 10 years, I'm going to be practicing physical therapy and I'm going to be raising a family. And I can confidently say 12 years later that neither of those things are true. But while I was taking chemistry my freshman year of college at Slippery Rock University and realizing that physical therapy was actually not going to be the route for me, I was also a public health major, and I realized that I was falling in love with public health and realized that this was the area, this was my calling, this is what I wanted to do. So I continued on as a public health major at Slippery Rock, and in my third year of college realized that a master's degree was the way to go. And so I applied to the, having been from Pittsburgh and knowing that we had such a great school of public health here, it was a very easy decision to apply. And I remember the day that I found out, and I remember jumping around my room up at school, and my roommate was like, "Is everything okay?" Everything's fine. It's one of my favorite memories. And so I started here in fall of 2009 and graduated in 2011. I am a health coach for UPMC Health Plan, but before I jump into exactly what I do, I want to make sure that everyone knows here that I am pretty sure I got my job because of my experience here at Pitt Public Health. And it goes beyond the classes. I remember when I got to school and I thought, this is graduate school, it's like serious. Like I don't need any extracurricular activities, like I'm serious. And then the very first day here, my orientation, I signed up for the SGA, right, Student Government Association. And through that, I met a guy who was here doing his PhD, Jason Flatt, for those of you who know him. And he became a very good friend of mine. And Jason introduced me to someone who worked at the health plan. And about a month before I graduated, she said to me, "Hey, by the way, we're hiring health coaches, and I don't know if you have a job lined up, but why don't you send me your resume and I'll pass it along to the hiring supervisor." Now, I like to think that I got the job on my own, right? Like I went to the interview and I rocked it, and I like to think that I earned my position. But I know that I got my interview there because of her. And I would have never met her if I hadn't met Jason. And I don't know that Jason and I would have met if it had not been for my involvement in the SGA. So I want to pass that along as for those of you who are thinking like, networking is such a buzzword these days. We know how important it is, but truly, it is because of that I know I have my job today. So what do we do as health coaches? We work over the phone. This is what I do all day long. I talk to people, and I was thinking, how many pictures can I take of me on the phone? But this is the one. So I talk to people all day long. We work with anyone from all lines of business within UPMC health plans. So whether they are commercial, Medicare, Medicaid. I've worked with people as young as 18, seniors in high school looking to quit smoking, which is incredible. I've worked with people in their early 90s, showing that it's never too late to get started on some lifestyle health changes. We help people in the areas of nutrition, physical activity, stress management, weight management, and tobacco cessation. We have 6 to 8 week programs on all of these areas. People can do a self-guided program, call in if they have questions. But we also have weekly telephone calls with members throughout these programs, and I'll get to the meat of that a little bit later. Let's say someone's looking for a little bit of help. They don't necessarily need a full program. I always like to give the example. Maybe someone feels like they have their weight pretty much under control, but they struggle with stress eating. Or let's say someone's looking to increase flexibility and balance in their physical activity routine, but they don't necessarily need help with strength training or cardio. We pare down the material so we can send out individual tip sheets on all of these areas. So we have a multitude of topics that people can call in just for a quick conversation. We also do some on-site events. I've led some on-site groups, and we're at community events as well. But we actually have an on-site health coach team that now does the bulk of that. So really the majority of our work, unless we're at a community event, the majority of our work is done over the phone. And those are our workbooks that we have currently, that we get mailed out to members. So how do people get to us? We have a 1-800 line. So there's a lot of print materials, there's commercials. I remember there was a commercial right after I started, about 5 months after I started, and it talked about, oh, my health coach, it was a commercial for UPMC Health Plan. My health coach helps me with my diabetes. It was this very attractive actor named Jeremy. It was all about Jeremy. And we started to get an influx of calls. I'd like to work with Jeremy. We don't have any health coaches named Jeremy, but it was a good try. They get me instead. So we do have a 1-800 line, and that's how a lot of people reach us if they are looking to make changes. We also get a ton of referrals. So we have doctors who make what's called a prescription for wellness. When someone goes to their doctor's offices, it's kind of making that, it's bridging that gap between payer and providers, that we have the doctors then make a prescription for wellness. It reaches us and we say, hey, tell us a little bit about that conversation you had with your doctor. We also have nurses who, practice-based care managers who are based in doctor's offices. They'll make referrals. We get referrals from other departments within the health plan, employee assistance programs. And oftentimes, employer groups actually incentivize their employees to work with us. So they might get money off of their deductible. Maybe some of you are familiar with this. Maybe you've had to call one of us and give me my points. So that's fine. Sometimes people get money off of their deductible. Oftentimes, they can work with us and get money into a health savings account or a health incentives account. So we get people a multitude of ways. And I was thinking about, like, what more can I tell you really about, like, just being on the phone all day, because that's what I do. I'm on the phone talking with people. I want to tell you a little bit about the meat of what we do, the coaching that we do over the phone. A small amount of what we do is health education. We are there to provide answers for people if they have questions about any of the topics that we coach in. But that's actually a really small part of what we do. We coach, and we use a style of coaching called motivational interviewing. How many of you are familiar or have heard of MI or motivational interviewing? Okay, that's great. That's a lot of people. Wonderful. So I'm going to give you a brief history for those of you who are not familiar with it and then tell you how we use it in our calls. MI was first observed, developed in the 1980s. It was formalized in 1991 by Drs. Miller and Rolnick, who really observed the relationship that drug and alcohol counselors had with their patients. I want to throw a question out there. Can anyone tell me what might be true of drug and alcohol counselors? Not all of them, but some. That might separate them from other counselors. Yes, that's exactly right. Thank you. So many of them are in recovery themselves. And so they observed this relationship where counselors are working with patients and patients were saying, you've been there, you know what I'm going through, so I trust you. I know that you're in my corner because you've been there too. Now, we know that people don't have to have had diabetes to help someone who has diabetes. We know that not everyone has to have been a smoker in order to help someone quit smoking. But we want to develop that same type of trust, help people feel like they have someone who's in their corner coming from a place of non-judgment. So that's kind of a brief history. So that's what we do over the phone. Motivational interviewing is client-centered and it is goal-focused. So what do we mean by client-centered? I might get a referral for someone who, a doctor or nurse might say they need to lose weight. And I start to talk to them, and perhaps weight management is an issue. But maybe when we start to dig deep, it turns out that actually they just have a lot on their plate. They're caring for an elderly parent. They have children that they're taking care of. They're running around. They don't have time to think about when they're going to get their workout in or planning their meals or tracking their calories. So maybe it comes out that they actually need some healthy coping stress skills, stress techniques. And so that's what we mean by client-centered. So we say, okay, it comes out, maybe that's what they want to focus on. And so that's what we do. It's like doing a community needs assessment, but on the individual level where you're saying, instead of me looking at you and saying, you need to do this, we know that doesn't work. The old school finger wagging, you're a smoker and you need to quit. Because most of us who need to make changes know that we need to make them. So we really work on seeing where people are and meeting them where they're at, and that is a huge part of motivational interviewing, to say, whatever your goals are, that's where we want to meet you. We want to help you get there. We do this by using like open-ended open-ended questions, reflecting, affirmations, summaries. These are basic parts of MI. And really identifying where someone is in their stage of change. I've worked with people who they're sure they're ready to quit, and maybe they will quit, but then something happens and it throws them off course, and maybe they're not ready right in that moment, and that's okay. I worked with someone, we worked together for about 3 months before she quit smoking, and she tried to quit smoking about 3 times. But she still wanted to get there. We worked through some challenges, we worked through some barriers, and she actually next week will be a year smoke-free. That's really incredible. We tried to explore and resolve ambivalence. So when someone needs to make a change, it's very normal to be of 2 minds about making that change or not. There's reasons that people have to make changes, but people have reasons for maybe not wanting to change, and those are valid, and we recognize that, and we accept it, and we try to work that out. And again, create that discrepancy, that dissonance of here's where I am, and here's where I want to be, and how can we move them forward? And we do that by exploring their intrinsic motivation. What drives them to make the change? If someone tells me that it's about being around for their kids and riding the roller coaster with their kids so they want to lose weight, we're talking quality of life, right? We're talking basic, they want to enjoy life again. So we use that to really drive forward and move through the program and move through their changes. We look for that change talk, the idea of saying, of hearing, I need, I want, I can, and we really pick up on that. So that is really what we do day to day. I answer questions, we set goals from week to week, we work through challenges over the phone, and to be honest, when I first graduated, I thought public health, I need to be out in the front lines, I'm going to save the world and do all this health education in the world, in the public. And I remember getting to my cube the first day and being like, oh, this is where I'm going to be. I never, ever thought that I would have the ability to make the impact that we can. There's about 20 health coaches on the team. About half of us are dietitians. We have exercise physiologists. We have counselors. All of us have our master's degree. So we come from a variety of disciplines. And to be able to develop rapport over the phone with someone is incredible, and I am so grateful. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to make the impact that we do every day. I've worked with thousands of people to make lifestyle health changes, and they inspire me as much as I guess help them. And so I encourage you all, one thing I really love and one thing I encourage for all of you is to find something that helps you learn every day. I've been in this job for 5.5 years. I thought I would be there for 6 months. I was like, I'll give this a shot. I don't know what I'm doing over the phone with people, but I'll see. And here I am 5.5 years later, and I'm always learning, and I think that's what's helped keep me there. We have a very supportive environment, and we work for the health plan, which has mixed reviews in the media and the world these days. But I love my job, and I love what I do. And what I try to keep in mind, just as a final thought here, is when you're working on the individual level, or even if you're working just with any population, it can be really easy to fall into the thinking of, well, I've heard this before. No, you stress eat? Yeah, you and everyone else. We all stress eat. Or you don't like to walk outside because the weather's bad? Yeah, I've heard that before. But for everyone we work with, that is their reality, that is their truth. And so that's what helps keep me a better public health professional every day, is just being there for that person. I'm in their corner, I'm their support, and it works. So I really appreciate your time today, and I look forward to any questions. Thank you.